Hey there, and welcome to the Leading at the Next Level podcast. In this particular case, we're also doing a live stream. It's pretty exciting that we get to do some of these interviews with some of our partners for the upcoming 2025 Leadership Legacy Experience with Dove Development Consulting. But overall, the podcast, what we're doing this for, it's a show built to really provide ongoing support for your leadership journey wherever you're at in your career. So today, what we're going to do is a little bit different than some of the podcast episodes, but it's really along the theme with what we do in most of our live stream interviews. Is we're going to talk to a friend and in this case a partner about the importance of leadership and intentional development in that leadership, but also his purpose for doing what he does. So Scott Glover has been a friend of mine and Cindy's for a number of years, and we've been working directly with him and his organization over the last several on our Live to Lead Harrisonburg event. But we've recently been able to start working with him, really lock arms, even on a business aspect, on a lot of different things. So Scott, I'm thrilled to have you with us today. How about you start by sharing a little bit about your professional background and your experience in your specific industry, but you've not been in this industry all of your career. You've got a pretty cool experience leading into that industry. So share whatever you like, and then we'll dig in a little bit more about your role with Blue Ridge Insurance.
Sure. Happy to be here, Wes. I do value you and Cindy's relationship, and happy to be on this podcast with you. But yes, I've been, started out here in 2018. I started at Blue Ridge Insurance. Going on 7 years doing this. I've been the leadership role here of the P&C department for the past 5 of that 7 years. So prior to that, I was started my leadership journey in 2000 with Banta Book Groups as a manager there, which got transitioned by R. Donnelly and stayed there until 2009 in the leadership as a manager, and then went to Walmart Distribution out in Mount Crawford as an operations manager, and was an operations manager there from 2009 until transitioned over to insurance in 2018.
Well, I'll ask because our backgrounds are similar in that space. I worked in manufacturing for a long time, and we've had some great interaction with the company that now is Banta, as well as some of their competitors over the last several years. And one of our partners for the Leadership Legacy Experience is yet another book manufacturing company. So have you ever missed the manufacturing space?
I have. I've really enjoyed the experience and time I had at Banta Book Groups. And, as the businesses change ownerships and buy out, things change, and makes it a little more difficult based on the demand for hours and shifts you have to do to help them be successful. So, I do miss a lot of it. Some of the hours I don't miss so much, but I do miss that piece.
Yeah, amen to that. When I worked in manufacturing, when I left, I knew everybody in our local facility, all 650 or so, on a first name basis. I knew a lot of their families. I knew a lot of their kids. I knew a lot of their hobbies. And that was really what made it for me. I missed a lot of the people. I didn't necessarily miss the hours of the work I was doing, but the people were the greatest part. And quite frankly, with those management changes you referenced, not leadership change. Well, it was a drop in leadership, but it was definitely a management change. The impact that was having on the people was really what drove me to look for a change in my career. So let me go into that, because the reality is, hey, in many cases, taking on that leadership responsibility, if you're doing it for the money alone, you don't do it, because the money's not always nearly enough.
Exactly.
What was your purpose then, and even now in the role you've got now, for really taking on that leadership responsibility? What drives you? What gets you out of bed in the mornings?
It started back before I even got into leadership by the leaders I had at Banta prior to that really, developed my skill set to learn from them to be the person I was in leadership. And I think that's always been a purpose of mine, it's not only to lead, but also develop the people there that can eventually come up and maybe be leaders of their own down the line. So that's what has always been an inspiration to me, is from being taught that way by good leaders, coming up through the Banta organization to where I am, all through Walmart to where I got to today. It's always, it's not always about me and how I do things, but how I do things to help the others behind me go with me in this journey.
Hey, that's exactly what drives me and Cindy to do what we do, because if it were just about the money, we would easily go get jobs.
Right.
But praise God, we can see the impact that we can have on other people's lives, on other people's careers, and how it serves them and so on. Now, I'm going to ask, it's a little bit off script. Was one of those leaders that you got to interact with and had that influence from a guy named Devin?
It was, I did do Devin. He was a big influence. I mean, he was a supporter even, so even after the buyout, even though he stayed there and changed his leadership role, but he was always there and even gave me some good insight on how to handle changes in leadership, and how to, sometimes you got to move a different direction and how you lead for a little while to understand their philosophy. So, he was a great inspiration to me.
Yeah, well, I don't think you and I have ever had that conversation offline about that, but we developed a wonderful relationship working with him, supporting a new facility he was at just 4 or 5 years ago. And through him, we've developed some great relationships with that partner I referenced before. So yeah, that's pretty cool. I never connected those dots. Yeah. So what a great person. Well, so, with that said, what kind of steps, and I know because we've talked about Devin a little bit, I know some of this answer, but what really motivated you into taking on the leadership development part of the piece? Because, hey, you already, let's be honest, you had a title, you had a position, you had authority. Why did you start looking at how can I develop myself as a leader and looking for training opportunities and so on, like you've been to with us over the years? And I know a lot of other things outside of what we've provided.
And a lot of that comes from encouragement from my leaders. They're looking at how I handled, even coming up before I became a manager or whatnot, just when I ran a crew and how I handled the crew and dealt with them through situations and supported them when they had ups and downs throughout their night. They encouraged me to look further into taking leadership and to gain my skills to because they felt that I had the opportunity maybe to take over their role once they moved up the ladder, because it's all they seen room for growth, and they brought me along, and I really am glad they did.
Yeah. Well, and it's neat that you say that. I just had a conversation over lunch today with a fantastic fella. He just started his own business. He had a key role in another business, and that kind of ran its course. The business, the folks were retiring that owned it, so he started his own. And he commented about, hey, I've never had somebody. I've always had to do it because, oh my gosh, I'm in a role, I better learn it. I've never had somebody encourage me to do it. So it's pretty cool. And again, I'll go back to Devin. I'm probably going to call him after we're done here just to say, hey man, this was cool. I've watched how he's invested in other people, and that's powerful for a leader to really do that intentionally for their team. And the juice is worth the squeeze, man. When you do it, hold people accountable to applying what they learn, it works out. So
it's sometimes just having them ask you, say, you ever thought about being a leader? Have you ever thought about being a manager? I mean, you do your job sometimes, you're going along, you don't even realize that people are watching to see what you're doing, and then kind of just say these few words to make you think about going a different direction. Same way with the insurance. Even though I'm a operations manager, somebody coming to me, you ever thought about selling insurance? Because you have a way you talk to people and deal with people. I think you'd be great. I've never thought. I mean, you don't think about it if somebody brings it to your attention.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and ultimately, Scott, I go back to in 1999, a fellow named Terry Ward was that guy for me. And I didn't like him when I first met him, but man, over the last 26 years now, he has just held a special place in my heart. So
good.
Well, so over the last several years, you and specifically Blue Ridge Insurance Services has been a partner with and I use the partner very intentionally when I do it. I don't say sponsor, because sponsor is when I'm saying, hey, I've got my hand out and I want something for nothing. We work actively to partner with the organizations. You guys have been a partner for our Live to Lead Harrisonburg event. Now we're transitioning to the Leadership Legacy experience that we're doing at James Madison University on June 13th. And I'm going to pop the banner for the URL and that in the feed right quick, just so people can see that. The L2L Harrisonburg, we've got a lot of cool stuff in place. But while that's up for a little bit, Scott, talk about why you've been willing to partner on that, because it's an investment from your business, but we always want return on investment. So
right. And I think that's the biggest piece of the return on it. I mean, there is so much beneficial information with there's always changes in the leadership, the type of people that come in that you need to interact with through the different millennials, all that as they change, baby boomers. But I always felt they were always takeaways that I could bring back, that I could apply right directly into my job to help my leadership skills and help my team grow. So that's always been, I've never came away feeling that I know all this or I've seen all this, but there's been so much beneficial information through the Lead to Lead and this coming up that I've gained. That's why I continue to do this partnership.
Well, yeah. So, but let me be honest, you could get that through buying a ticket, and that the price point's lower for just an individual ticket. Where has it been worth getting the organization involved, and how has that helped you, A, have a broader reach and help impact the community, but B, develop some different relationships? Can you point to any of that?
Yeah, there has been, a couple twofolds, and not only developed some here. I know we bring also other individuals from our agency into that so they can help develop their skills. But the people I've met, the leaders I've met at those meetings too, that have helped me see some different sides of what they've experienced that I can also apply. I mean, just the communication with the different leaders, even if it's somebody that you say competitor, even like Troy at LD&B. I mean, I'm happy to talk to him. He brings some good insights to different things, but there's always the relationship there with the people that's at these Live to Leads, that you don't matter who they are, you can talk with them and see what they're dealing with compared to see what you're dealing with to get helpful advice for each of us.
Yeah, Scott, I remember, I think in 2003 or 4, maybe earlier than that even, but early in my career, I ended up going to a conference, and I'm thinking, I'm just this guy, and I've got problems nobody else deals with. And I remember getting some of those, the concerns I heard them addressed in different sessions I was in the conference, but meeting other folks. I love that you said that, because meeting other folks in similar roles, in similar or even different industries, helped me realize that, oh my goodness, it's not just me. Everybody has these problems, and
Right,
everybody
exactly.
has solutions that are different for me, and I can learn from them. What a powerful statement. So let's talk about Blue Ridge Insurance and what you do. What would you like? And I'm going to pull up real quick
Okay.
a page I've got shared. Talk a little bit about the organization and really what the sweet spot is.
First of all, we're definitely dedicated to our customers here at Blue Ridge Insurance. I mean, not only our customers, but also to the staff here. I think that's one of our dedication to the customers, our staff. We understand that things come up and things change, and that it's integrity, communication, and respect for each other. That really what Blue Ridge Insurance is all about. I mean, between making sure we're there for the customers when they need us, and also there for the staff when they, work-life balances come up there to help them. So it's a family here, and we try to extend that out to our customers to make them feel like it's a family also.
Well, so one of the words you just said, and I had the screen up for a little bit. I want people to be able to see and hear from you, but I've got I put your URL for the Blue Ridge Insurance website in the comments, and I'll have to move some of those over in comments later on, because all of them doesn't feed on this platform. But you talked about integrity, and Mark Cole, who's going to be our closing keynote speaker for the the Leadership Legacy experience on June 13th. I've heard him say, "Hey, I trust people that make mistakes, but I don't trust people that make excuses." And that really is about integrity. We're all going to make mistakes, right?
Exactly.
And when we, and just over, and I'll say this, me to you, and whoever else ever sees this, over the last several months that we've worked closer together, that's the piece that we've appreciated. It's not been a seamless transition. There's been some bumps out of the way that are beyond either of our control, but I've loved that you said, here's where it's at in the process. This is what I'm doing to work through it. It's not where we want it to be. And it's all about communication, right? My goodness. Talk about how you work to do that, not just with your clients, but with your team. Because to your point, if your team internally, and this is another thing I've learned from a friend of Mark Cole's, a guy named Jeff Henderson, he says, hey, if our team's cared for, so is our customers. Our team will take care of customers when they know they're cared for.
Exactly.
What are you doing internally to make sure that that's the case?
Well, we, like I say, we definitely have the work life. If they need to go somewhere to see a child sports game, if they need some time off to be with a family member, that's up and foremost, because family is the number one thing, and we make sure we do all we can to accommodate and be with them on that. And I think they understand that we got each other's back in here. If somebody needs to go, everybody else can step up to help them do what they need to do. We'll take care of the business side of it. They go take care of their family or whatever, the sports thing, and everything will be taken care of here. And they don't even worry about it, because we all work together with each other to make things happen without having to worry about things not getting done if you're away.
And hey, it's a team. Now, this next question is kind of neat. I've watched how engaged you've been in the process. You made a pretty substantial change in 2018 in your career role. Tell us about the purpose of Blue Ridge Insurance and what you're looking to serve, how you're looking to fulfill that purpose and serve in the community, but just as specifically how it aligns with your personal purpose and those values that really drive you.
Yeah, and just so giving, that's as far as our community. Let's just talk about the giving aspect of it. I mean, nonprofits throughout the valley, we support. I can't name all the nonprofits. Not only them, then you got the Little League baseball teams, the fundraisers that come up. We're all about the food banks, everything like that. We support and our sponsors and all those different type of entities there. And that means a lot to me, because it's about giving back. That's the main thing, is giving to the community and helping them thrive also. It ain't just about us doing it's about us giving back to help everybody around the area. Be a neighbor, a good neighbor to everybody.
Yeah, and so to take that further, how does that really align with what is meaningful to you?
That it's just the caring. That's just what in leadership. You care about the people that work for you, and you care to see them be successful and make sure that they're growing. And that's the same way with the community. It's about caring for the community, make sure they're being successful and growing. So it kind of all goes together between leadership and community for me, and that's what drives me.
Well, hey, let's be honest. We can be in a manager role. We can have all kinds of titles, but if we don't care for our people, we're certainly not leading them.
Right.
And people feel that, right? Leadership
is
about
definitely feel that. That's right. They won't be there for you if when you need them, if they don't feel that.
Throughout What's Killing Your Profitability, and even a little bit in the new book, Leading with Clear Purpose, that's going to be the theme of the event in June. I reference a stat that I found from the Harvard Business Review, where it talked about the discretionary effort that people give when they're really bought in, when they've got high levels of engagement, and it's 57% increased discretionary effort. And that translates to a 20% increase in individual productivity. And I've shared that stat, Scott, with hundreds, maybe thousands of people over the last couple of years, all over the country. And I see people wrinkle their foreheads and kind of scowl at me a little bit. And they're like, no, there's no way productivity increases by 20%. And there's no way it's 50%. And I say, hey, think about your best boss and your worst boss. Who'd you work harder for?
And you can see, what, to your point, Wes, you could really see that in the manufacturing. I mean, if you're, say I'm a leader of a crew and I go get transferred to a leader of another crew that didn't have the best leader there, you could see the productivity change once they learned that the different style of leadership. You definitely see the difference. Productivity turned around.
Yeah, I mean, I can think of a handful of bosses I've worked for over the years that, I mean, to this day, if they buzz me on the cell phone, I'll say, hey, Scott, we go wrap this up. I got to run, take care. I got to help somebody out. And we've worked for ourselves for 10 years. It's not because I'm accountable. It's not because they have authority anymore. It's because they have influence.
Right.
So pretty powerful. So here's a question I'll ask, because you're taking on more and more responsibility in your role. You've held some significant responsibility. What advice would you give to, let's say, an aspiring young professional looking to really advance in their own career and to really develop a successful leadership journey?
The first thing I would, if there is an internship available for the field they're looking to get into, suggest to them to maybe do that through the summer while they're in college, just to get an idea about what their job field's about. And then once they get in, if they're already in the job, starting off, don't be discouraged if you have a few fails to start off with, because you're going to have those. But learn from them and then keep moving forward. Don't let them get you down.
Yeah. Hey, I'm not sure. I'm pretty sure I failed somewhere along the line today. I can't put a finger on it, but I know I'm going to somewhere in the day. Right. So it's just pick yourself up, brush it off, and keep trucking forward. Again, we're going to make excuses. I mean, we're going to make mistakes, but how we handle those mistakes is pretty telling, right?
Right. And you get a lot of no's or whatever you may do, or things not go your way. And I know it can be so discouraging when you're coming into a new job, a new field, and you're thinking, man, this may not be for me, but you got to get through that first piece of it and grow and be successful.
Yeah. Scott, Cindy and I heard John Maxwell say, it was a small group we were in with him a couple of years ago. He said, you're never good at anything the first time. So when we hear people say, I tried and I just couldn't do that in whatever it is, well, of course you couldn't do that. You've never done it before. You've got your golf clubs on the wall behind you. My guess is you weren't good the first time you swung a club. I couldn't hit the damn ball the first time I tried.
For sure.
So,
for sure.
As we've shared through, Scott, I really appreciate you taking the time to do this. Is there anything specific you'd like to share, you'd like to call attention to? Just what's any remaining takeaways you'd like to leave folks with?
Just to recap, just don't give up when you start. There could be some disappointments. Get through those and move forward with that. Make sure you take care of your staff and employees, and they'll take care of you and your customers all the way through the business side of it. And listen to those leaders out there that are trying to bring you along. If you're coming in up through an organization, they're the ones that really bring a lot of value to your future down the line.
100%. So, well, Scott, thanks for taking the time out of your day. I know you've got a lot of plates you spin. You carry a lot of responsibility. Thanks for taking the time for this. Thank you, more importantly, for being a business associate partner and just partnering with us, helping us put on the event that's coming up later in 2025. Yeah. And I'll kind of sign this off by saying, hey, thanks for listening. Wherever you're at, wherever you're catching this, if it's live, if it's through the podcast, if it's on the social media feeds, whatever, appreciate that. If you have a need, if you'd like to go in deeper into any of the things that Scott and I've shared, or you've got a need for continuing education credit, send me or Cindy an email. We both get it. It's admin@dove-development.net. We'd be happy to hook you up with a 45-day all-access trial at no cost to a program that we've put together called Leading at the Next Level. It's a full program, not just this podcast, but at this point, we've got well over 100 hours. I think it's about 150 hours of digital lessons in that. All of them are approved for continuing education credit through the Society for Human Resource Management and the Human Resource Certification Institute. In the live sessions, though, we also do Q&A. And then we never record that. We kill the recording. And that just gives folks some one-on-one so they can ask questions around how can they take specific action to move their leadership culture forward in a way that gets measurable results. So if that's it, reach out to us, admin@dove-development.net. And with that said, Scott, hang with me while I kill the recording. And we appreciate you being with us and look forward to seeing you guys soon.
God bless. Be a partner. Thank you.